Welcome back to the studio, friends. Let's make a soup mug. Okay, today we are going to do the hybrid version of our traditional soup mug jig. I've already got the hybrid system secured to my wheel head. I do have different videos if you're not sure how to affix it to your wheel. Basically, you're just lining up back pins and you are lugging down with fresh clay. So there is a shelf that does come with each of our hybrid systems. This is where the clay sets on while you're shaping, and then it will also help you release the clay. We do have free templates online for you. Don't forget your dusting of cornstarch. We do need a release agent. You will notice two seams on this project. I did have to splice two pieces of clay together just to make enough. I'll do this in my studio from time to time when I don't have a slab that's big enough. It's a really great way to use all of your clay. And because we are using the hybrid system, we're going to compress and make sure we disappear that second seam. If you are having cracking at these seams, let me know, email me, and I will help you troubleshoot that issue. But I usually have no problem doing that. I'm going to do an alternating beveled cut here. So I'm going to pick an angle and cut both sides of the clay at that same angle. You can use a specific tool for this. I just use my potter's knife for this guy. And what we are looking for is for the clay to meet together without too much strain or stress on the clay and without too much overlap. So we can start that invisible seam right away from the construction phase. Once my clay is meeting where I want it to, I will score and slip and button up the seam only to the first ridge. I'll show you an example of what I mean here in a second. So you don't want to close the clay all the way up because we do need to add the slope in at the top. And we do have to get rid of some extra clay as we slope in the clay to create that nice beveled edge leading into our foot piece. So here on our traditional jig, you can see that ridge right there. That's where we are going to close the seam up, and we are going to let the top flow freely so that as we are smushing, the clay has somewhere to displace. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the seam. If during your shaping process that seam gets a little flappy, a little loose, you can come back in and tighten it up. So what we want to do is start shaping with our hands. My clay right now, the wetness that I go for is pliable, but I do not leave sticky fingerprints behind. If my clay is taking on my fingerprints and sticking, then it might just be a little bit too much on the wet side. That being said, you can experiment and definitely work with clay to the moisture of your liking. You can make it stiffer or you can make it more wet than this. Honestly, it's just kind of a personal preference thing. I do think on the wetter side is better for the soup mug because it gives you a little bit more shapeability. So I'm going to just grab my wooden paddle here. After I've done my initial shaping with my hands, I'm going to come in and just give it a little bit more of a forceful paddle. You'll see the top of the clay here start to ripple, and that we leave extra clay on purpose because if the clay is too short and you cut it, it will go beneath the line where the foot goes. And so we want to make sure that we're having just enough clay so we are not going beneath the jig on that to add a foot evenly. So I am just going to come through and cut off the ripple portion of this. There's going to be a lot of cutting and smushing. That's a technique that I use a lot in my studio. So as the clay starts rippling, that tells me that that top layer can go. I will also remove some extra clay here at the seam. As I'm smushing, you can see it's starting to push and peek out. That's just the result of having too much clay at the seam at the top portion of that. Our bottom should still be nice and secure, but I do want to come in, and as I'm shaping this with my hands and with the paddle, I do want to start cutting off the extra clay to make it more manageable and to not stress that seam any more than we already have to. This step, once you practice and once you make many of them, will just get easier and faster. The first one always takes a little bit more time to get it figured out. That being said, this project takes me about 10 minutes on the hybrid system to completely shape, compress, and add my foot and do all of my trimming work. So after this, usually the next day at Leather Hard, I'm able to add on my handles and I'm good to go. Because you're doing all of the compression, you're doing all of the trimming in one step, it really is a time saver. So once I feel good about the top part of that seam, I will go ahead and close the rest of it up. I did cut a little bit further into my initial seam just to make sure I'm getting really good contact there. You really don't want to have separation at that point. That could be a point of failure, so just take some time to really compress that. So I'm going to come back through with my metal rib before we even start up the wheel. There is a little bit more sculpting happening with these forms that have a tapered in foot like this, but it's worth it. This is honestly the longest part of the process. So with the metal rib, I've taken off any extra of the bump that I can feel. You can also use a pony roller or a brayer for this. I'm using a sponge that is damp, not wet. I have a nice clean wheel here. Yay for me. So if you look throughout the video, you will not see any water splashed onto my splash pan. If you have water that's splashing onto the splash pan, you're using too much water. Remember, even though we are at the wheel, this still is a slab of clay, and slab clay will take on water much differently than a fresh lump of clay that you're throwing on the wheel. It will weaken it and it will cause a lot of stress fractures. So damp sponge a couple times just to give your tools a nice area to glide on. And those little ripples at the top, I will trim out. And after the bisque and the glaze step, you won't even see those in the finished product. It's just a little more obvious now because it's just the raw clay. So I've taken my knife as the wheel is spinning. If you feel comfortable with that, you will go ahead and level off the top. I will do a little bit of dry trimming at the bottom just to make sure I've got that seam nice and secure before I add my foot on. The dry trimming steps are my absolute favorite. This is where you can really reduce a lot of weight. You do want your slab to be at least a 1/4 inch. You can see mine is thicker than that at the top. This is just from a previous slab that I had. I'm just using extra, so I will have to do a little bit more trimming to make this soup mug a little bit more lightweight. Okay, let's get into adding our bottom. Once you've got your pot as trimmed as you would like it, I score as the wheel is turning. Of course, as you're using any tools that are sharp on the wheel while it's spinning, please be careful. I just like to score this while it's spinning, and then I will bring the bottom on and I will flip it upside down, and I will also do my score and my slipping while my wheel is turning. It's just a little bit easier, and it gives me another chance to make sure that my foot is the right size. I added some texture on to my bottom. I got some really cute texture mats from the Pottery toolkit, and I wanted to see what the glaze does on the inside of that. So I did pre-texturize my bottom. We do have the optional bottom cutter that does come with the combo set. That way you know that the bottom will fit every single time. And then this time I will just attach the bottom, and I won't do much trimming to that. If you do want to fancy your foot, you would want to roll out a thicker slab. And it is worth mentioning now that you do want this part of the project to be a little bit more set up. The wider the foot, the more set up the slab should be. It really shouldn't be beyond a soft leather hard. The softer it is, it will slump in, and it could get stuck onto the inside where the jig is, and that just makes removal a little bit harder. So I'm going to eyeball this. Remember, we are still building something by hand. I don't really fuss too much. I want it to be mostly in center, and then I'm going to trim. But if your foot is just a little bit off, it's not a big deal. What we're really looking at here is adhesion. We want to make sure that we are not having any cracks or any failure where the foot meets the body of the mug. As previously mentioned, if you do want to fancy your foot, you will add a thicker slab to the bottom, and then you can go into some more traditional foot trimming if that is your aesthetic and that is what you're going for. So here I do want to keep a little bit of that texture on the inside, and so I just am kind of at the edge of the foot, making sure I'm compressing there, but I'm not taking it all the way into the middle. I did take that into account with my design, so I made this slab just a little bit thinner so I'm not having so much weight at the bottom. Now we are going to work on blending the seam and making sure that our bottom is nice and attached and compressed. I will come through with a series of sponges, rubber ribs, and my trimming tools to disappear that line there. I am planning to carve into the bottom of this pot. I always take that into account. So I don't want to go too far in, and I don't want to trim too much off of it because as I'm taking away clay with my carving tool, I don't want to lose the connection where the foot meets the body of the mug. So because I'm not doing, if I'm not doing any trimming towards the center, I am going to pop in my bottom to fake that elevation with my small anvil. And then of course I've set myself up for the carving detail that I add to the bottom of my pots. Just another quick pass with my rubber rib here, just to give it a really nice finish. I've already got the pot centered. I've already got it spinning. So any finishing work that I do at this point is well appreciated. So I'm not doing more finishing on the back end. So you're going to take a clean knife or a pin tool. I find a nice sharp knife to be the easiest. Be careful while the wheel is spinning, please. You do want to release the pot from the shelf so it doesn't pull at the clay when you are removing. To remove the clay, we're just going to go nice and easy. You're going to give some downward pressure, and then you're going to lift up the shelf. It should just give a little pop. Really take it easy at this point. The taller the form, the wider the form, the slower you'll want to go. And there we go, just a beautiful pot, nicely trimmed, ready for any surface decoration, ready to dry, and a handle on the next day. Let's take care of some inside seams here because that's important. Because we have assembled this via slab, we do have a couple seams here on the inside. So I'm going to use a diamond core sculpting tool here. I've been really loving this set, and I'm going to go ahead and close up the vertical seam, and I'm going to go ahead and close up the seam where the foot meets the side walls. So here what I'm doing is I'm just taking some of the clay. I identify which way the seam is going, whichever seam is on top of the other, you'll want to drag that clay over to fill in those gaps there. I will also come through with my studio brush. I have a vinegar slip in there, which is just distilled vinegar and a little bit of my clay body, and I will come through and smooth that out. The vinegar will further close in any gaps, and because it's not water, we're not adding any extra moisture. It's not going to create any cracking. I like to keep the shelf on at this point because I'm pretty clumsy. And when the shelf is there, it's holding some surface tension for me, so I'm not knocking out. But where the shelf meets the seam, where I'm adding all this slip and I'm scoring, I'm blending, it can get a little stuck at that point. So if I notice a little bit of slip moving under the shelf at that point, I will take a knife and free that up a little bit. That's just something you live and you learn. But ultimately, because we cut it off of the wheel, the shelf should remove itself freely. I'm going to go ahead and smooth all of my seams, and then I will come back at leather hard if I need to do any other additional work. I've got my 2XL rim cone here for our soup mug. It's just the great size for that. The soup mug is wider. It's kind of deceiving. It seems like a smaller project, but it does need a bigger rim cone there. So as I remove the shelf, I just give it a spin. I want to make sure everything is still in the round. And then if I want to do any smoothing of the rim, I will start at this point and then finish at leather hard. I'll keep this rim cone in until my next pot is done. So as I make these in sets, I wouldn't let the rim cone sit in for longer than about 15-20 minutes before readjusting. And there we go. We have our soup mug on the hybrid system. If you have any questions about this project, if you would like to see how I attach handles to the soup mug, please head over to my Instagram page. I do have examples of adding the soup mug handle on there. It's also the same as the nesting mug. If you do want to stack your soup mugs, you'll just want to make sure the handle stays above that bottom ridge. Thanks for stopping by. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll see you again soon.